Welcome into Coronavirus Inside the Arizona Numbers, where we take a closer look at the data and the information coming out of Arizona to help you make the best decisions for your family and your life. You know their health and lifestyle the best. We're just here to help you find the numbers to make the best decisions. I'm Katie Raml. Alongside me here, Garrett Archer. Sorry, I just noticed a mess behind me. My daughter's schoolwork is here. So working from home, schooling from home, doing it all out of here right now. We want to welcome you in. And Garrett, we want to start with some information coming out of ASU. They've had a larger amount of cases coming in. They say 800 in total at this point. 328 kids in isolation already. We'll talk about that later on in this broadcast. Nicole, hi. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for taking time for us on here today to help you better understand the numbers. Let's start on the summary page where we always do. Garrett Archer alongside me here, our data guru. We are lucky to have him help give us some perspective on these numbers as they come in. How does the summary page look today, Garrett?
For Tuesday, the summary page looks very good. So as you can see, 500 cases reported today by the AZDHS and 15 deaths. That's off of 50 PCR cases, giving us a fair high PCR percent positive today of 11.1. However, we've seen Tuesdays in the past where this has been, in fact, recent past, where this has been 17.3. So, you know, this is it's a higher than typical percent positive for us, but we are expecting it on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is sort of the catch-up day from the weekend. So we get a lot of stuff from the weekend that we haven't seen. Like if you remember yesterday, negative deaths report. Today we've got the 15. And then as you can see, the cumulative percent positive, 12.6 and 6.4.
All right, and Maricopa specifically in that, I understand it looks like all 15 deaths came from Maricopa County.
Yes, all 15 deaths came from Maricopa County, and then 276. So about where we expect with the cases, about 60 or so-ish percent of cases are coming from Maricopa County. Right,
reflecting the population there. All right, we wanted to start with that just so we can give kind of an overview. Also something that is of importance right now is the percent positive. Everybody's been watching that number a bit more now. How do things look for that today?
So today, again, I have the 3% positives that I look at. First one being just the basic, cases against tests, which is case divided by that new PCR number, and that was 11.1. And then you can also combine the serology tests. We didn't have a lot of serology tests today, so that one is 10.2. And then what I do also, we have one called the electronic reported percent positive. So these are the labs that we know there are negatives to. So there's a positive to a negative. These don't include sort of the fax sheets or anything else. And that's 4.5%. And so we know basically we can kind of have some confidence that that's more community testing. And so the community spread is still around 5% at this point.
Garrett, with the 5%, are you looking at that electronic number, or which number do you, at this point in the pandemic, feel is most accurate to what we're seeing in the community?
I think the electronic number is the most accurate of what we're seeing. And on top of that, it's also the number that is going to be the most impactful, the gating criteria that the counties are using. It's going to be more reflective of that. That 11.1% we saw today, as we've talked, that also includes tests that didn't come in from labs. We have heard, our reporter Nicole Grigg is kind of working on this, that some of ASU testing that they're doing right now through PCR is not coming through the ELR system. So some of the tests that we've seen that are coming in wouldn't have a negative associated with it. So it would push up that percent positive.
All right, so let's get into ASU a little bit more. They're updating the numbers for us. We had an update on our 10 o'clock newscast last night that we were up to 800 students now, students and faculty. I believe the faculty number is real small, like 30 faculty members in total, but that we're at about 800 now. We have 328 students moving over into isolation. And Nicole Grigg, one of our reporters, is out there right now. She just met up with a student who's packing up all her bags and leaving the dorm that she just moved into 2 weeks ago, feeling that it's not safe at this point. So help us better understand these numbers that are coming out of ASU. What have you seen from this?
Sure. So what we saw when they did their update yesterday, it appears that they have about a 10% positive right now on the tests that they're doing. This is based on their data. We don't have a way to verify it. They're saying, they said, I believe you said just under 800, and then they gave us a test number, so we can just reasonably conclude that that's about 10% over the past, I think it was 24 hours or so. But what we can do is we can look at some of the zip code data to determine what is actually going down on the ground. I have done that for you, so I'm going to share a screen really quick right here. So this is just a simple map, nothing special. I did this off Excel. Anybody can essentially do this. That basically shows all the zip codes in Arizona and what sort of growth they may have. The legend, which I've hidden because I didn't do anything fancy with it, goes from either -26 or 320 cases. And that's the number of cases added since August 25th. So that's, what is that, a week, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because we're at September 1st now.
Yeah, it's 7 days. So, and what they do is it's basically saying, okay, the darker the color, the more cases have been added. Well, there's one, obviously with a range of 320, there's one zip code that does have 320. And if we slide this in, we can see exactly what zip code that is. And it's 82581, or excuse me, 85281, which is ASU. So the number of zip code, the number of growth that is occurring right now in the state really is being driven by this particular zip code. It has experienced the highest growth in the past week, about 18% growth. And just, in fact, in the last couple days, they've added just 250 cases just in the last couple days, most of this coming now. And if you look at this data prior to the start of classes, these were not, this was not a massively growing zip code. So you could definitely see that the start of classes at ASU is having an impact on the zip code as well as Maricopa County's numbers at this point. We'll go down to ASU, to the U of A. Oh, I just committed like a cardinal sin to some people. There is actually no corresponding growth that would show up in U of A's numbers right now. So U of A doesn't have anything near like ASU right now.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we heard that U of A was doing was testing the wastewater and looking for early signs of coronavirus in wastewater, which is just incredible that is even able to be done. It's kind of plugged in like they do with any different medicines or diseases. They can track this stuff. So they're seeing this in the wastewater. They were able to isolate it to a dorm and then go in and test about 300 people linked to that dorm. And they were able to isolate where this is coming from and isolate it so early that they knew to move these kids out before these kids even knew that they were going to test positive. It's just, it's incredible. And it's been credited with really keeping an outbreak from happening right there. In fact, Governor Ducey talked about this situation in particular yesterday, but didn't know if it was happening at ASU or U of A, and it was U of A that we had reported on. And yeah, Patricia said ASU is testing wastewater too. We did see that in Tempe. And it's one of the early stories that we did and how they were tracking that. But that was for the whole city.
Yes, and I do have that pulled up just to show everyone what we're talking about. So Tempe is also testing wastewater, and they have this very simple dashboard that basically shows us what's going on. You can see most of the regions. Here's the regions, and here's the corresponding areas. Most of them have had zero growth, trace amounts of the genome found in them. So they're just not of any. They're not showing up. So I'm going to pull those out so that they don't. We can just focus on. Yes, these, let's pull out area 7 too. So now we're looking at the only areas in Tempe that have had some growth or movement in the last 4 weeks. And you can see this is area 1, which is the majority of Tempe. But that movement has been down to 0 amounts since July 20th. You have secondarily, you have this area, was it 5, which is right up here, sort of north of the Salt River. And that popped and then went down and then popped again. But you must understand that it might be hard to say, but it only shows, this is a logarithmic graph, which means it's exponential every time you cross a line. And this is only showing, it's basically trace amounts too. It says 84,000 copies per liter, which after who I've talked to on this graph, 84,000 per copies per liter is not that, it's not really that significant. However, this area 6 right here, sorry about that. Area 6 right here, this small little sort of section of, I believe that's Apache. Yes, Apache Road. You could see that actually had very interesting movement. It went down and it was going down. It went to trace amounts in early August, and then it popped up to about 230,000 copies per liter. Not necessarily, that's still much lower than it was at its peak. I'll bring up July 1st just to show what these numbers look like. At the peak, this area had a copies per liter of 1.6 million. Right now, it's at 230,000. However, we're also looking at data from only August 17th to August 23rd, and they do revise this data. So I don't know what it's going to look like after they've revised it. In fact, I thought they were going to update this data last Thursday, and we haven't had an update yet. So I'm sort of interested to see what's going to happen in this wastewater dashboard going forward.
That's so interesting that you can look at those dates. I didn't realize that you could look back on where we've been throughout that. Fascinating way to track it and a great understanding for it. Stephen, right? We need to get Garrett a better ringtone. Stephen, you're hilarious. That's so funny. I think mine was buzzing last week. It was ringing into my computer, and I couldn't get it to stop doing it. I had to throw my phone farther away. All right. Okay. So we will continue tracking all this. As I said, we have reporters down there at ASU. And then also we were hearing, Garrett, from some fraternity members who they thought there was a positive test in the fraternity. They moved everybody out, and they were having to rent other places off campus. So we have a reporter on that situation today too, and what happened with that. So you can expect that reporting coming up this evening as well. So a lot to get to there. All right, let's talk about compliance and these businesses. And they had a ton of complaints come in. And I want to let you know, if you're headed out to a business and you're everybody's laughing at your cell phone, Garrett, cracking me up in the comments. If you're headed out to a business and you're headed out to a gym or a bar or a restaurant, and you see somebody, you see a situation where they're not enforcing the rules that protect us all, that protect other customers, that protect the staff, the Department of Health wants to hear from you. So here's the address. It's right there on the screen, www.azhealth.gov/compliance COVID-19. There's also a cell phone number that they've provided, which is 1-844-410-2157. So they're saying that they're getting just a ton of response to that, about 800 complaints. 25%, they go out and investigate them. At this point, 25% were not valid. But as we told you yesterday, 3 different businesses had to be shut down for not following the rules. Those being 2 bars in Scottsdale and 1 bar in Tempe. So we wanted to keep you updated on that. They are investigating them. It is part of their commitment to making sure that we can continue to open up safely, because if we have more and more outbreaks because people aren't following the rules, then we aren't going to be able to have all these places open. So we wanted to update you on that. Those are the 2 numbers and the 2 places to call. Garrett, I was interested, the covidtracking.com site has a larger updated section right now just for Arizona. They've always had each state where we could look through, and it was one of the places I suggested going if people were unfamiliar with these sites, because it just had 1 bar that went across. It said a number of recoveries and who was hospitalized, and just a quick snapshot of the numbers if you didn't have the appetite for a lot of this other stuff that's a deeper dive. When looking at the site now, they've added a lot more information, and that's able to be updated pretty much in real time. If you're taking a peek at the numbers, are those looking as close to real time as what we're tracking out of Arizona, say by a day or so?
Yes, so I'm going to share this. This is actually new to me too, so thank you.
They just added this section, and they added a lot more information, things that you and I have been talking about here on this live chat each afternoon. But for folks at home, again, who didn't want to do such a deeper dive into this, that join us on here, but maybe you want a place to just go get a quick peek of the numbers, this they've added a few more charts in there and a few more explainers, some of the same things that you and I have been talking about on here.
If I now you're gonna have to walk me through a second. If I go to this, okay, yeah, this is their new sort of how they're doing this here. So okay,
yeah, and I see you're on the Arizona section, so you'll see in the written word right there, those sentences that are up above, just
Yes.
right in that section. Those are some of the things that we've talked about, some of the things that have come out from the Department of Health Director's blog and other things that help people to better understand why there might be an anomaly in a number or a change in how something's factored in if the rules change. But down below, these 5 or 6 charts that are there, just give a real quick snapshot. I know when I checked it this morning, it had 256 people in the ICU right now here in Arizona, 152 on ventilators. Is that in enough real time?
Yes, that is the hospital. That's the EM resource number. So that is from the last 24 hours. So they're now pulling that number directly from our EM resource chart that we have, the COVID-like, or excuse me, not the COVID-like, the COVID hospital assets data that we go over pretty much every day. So they're pulling that, and you can see that they don't give you an actual record, a time on this, but this is actually this is pretty much the lowest number of ventilators we've ever had since reporting began. We have one date. The first date, April 8th, that's actually lower than it, but that looks like that's probably a reporting issue. And so this is very likely the lowest number of ventilators that COVID-19 patients have been using. So
this site in particular, I know we spent a lot more time on this site when, and I'm forgetting the date already. I want to say it was like in July, when a lot of people were hearing numbers across the US and hearing across the US, the situation was getting better. And at that point for us in Arizona, it was not. We were going in the opposite direction. And this was a really helpful place to overlay the map of the US across Arizona so people could see that we were going in opposite directions. Although the story overall for all the states and Puerto Rico and DC looked better, it was not looking better in Arizona. So if you're wanting a place that just gives the snapshot of Arizona and the snapshot of the US, I think this is a really good site just for a quick look at that. I will say that the one number that I take issue with, and I always have, is defining recovered as only 31,000. They are only using our hospital discharges for that as a proxy number. That is certainly, I mean, with 200,000 cases and a pandemic that's gone since March, we have absolutely, even in the confirmed case counts, a lot more recovered individuals. I mean, it's in the high, it's anywhere from 180 to 190,000 at this point. So that's the one number that when you look at, they say recovered, that's because that's the only thing that they can confirm is recovered, but it's certainly much higher than that in reality. And so this site, to remind folks, is just pulling from websites all across the U.S. And if our state is not reporting those specific numbers, then they're not going to populate in there for those recovery numbers. Yeah, exactly. A lot more. Everybody's asking for the website on this. This is the COVID tracking project. Garrett, can you read me the address? Yeah, I will send it over to producer Josh. I'm linking it right now, so he can just put it up. This is directly linked to where we're looking at right now. This also has the graphs, covidtracking.com, data, state, Arizona. And, you know, you can also change the graphs around, look at it per capita, look at it on the full range. There's just a ton of things you can do here. It's a very good site. Yeah, and like I said, if you're looking for archived information, this is the best place for anywhere. This is the one that Johns Hopkins uses. Everybody uses COVID tracking project for archived information. So you can just download this right here and pick up the data if you want to look at it yourself. Yeah, I just think it's easy to use. It's easy for people to dive into if they aren't deep in these numbers all the time. So the site's up there right now. Obviously, it's linked to Arizona's page, the number that we're giving you, or the address that we're giving you. So it's linked to Arizona's numbers. But for all of you that are watching from other places, you can pull up your state. You could pull up DC, Puerto Rico. It's got everything there, and kind of look at how this looks or compare to other states. But again, as Garrett mentioned, that one caveat there is those recovered numbers, just because states are reporting them differently. So worth taking a peek at that. I hope that website helps. We used to talk about that all the time, Garrett, as kind of one of our regular sites that we discussed, but now that these benchmarks are coming up for schools and for businesses, that's taken a lot more of our time here. So I just wanted to remind you all of that site. That can be a helpful tool for you as well.
I did see someone, speaking of what you just said, good segue, someone was asking about Gila County. And even though I don't think we're probably going to spend too much time on the dashboards today because it's Tuesday, I did sort of look at where they are right now, and it does look that Gila County is going to be at least another, I mean, it's not even, it's going to go up, in fact, in its per capita case count in this next update, very likely, which means it's going to be at least 3 weeks at this point.
Okay, so it'll be a while. And when you mentioned Thursday, for those that don't join us on here every day, Thursday is the day that those are updated and that one sheet comes out to sort of see if we've met benchmarks and see what counties have moved into the red, yellow, or green category, of course. So I wanted to update you. Producer Josh was just letting me know yesterday or the day before, somebody had asked about the list of complaints, the compliance line, if you could see what businesses have complaints in against them. And ADHS is not planning on posting that online, the number of complaints a specific business gets. So just wanted to update whoever that was. Hopefully you're on here again, who was asking about this just the other day. So while we in the media get the number, we'll pass that along to you. We'll pass along some of the things that you heard yesterday where 25% didn't check out. We don't have the exact name of the business unless that business is shut down, as we mentioned, those 2 bars in Scottsdale and that one in Tempe. All right, hey, our not number, the range was back below 1 today. Happy to see it being at that 0.99 again. Better news.
Let's pull it up. Everybody loves the RT page, so we will pull that up. And I will take the screen dark to make it easy to see. There we go. Okay. So, yep, here we are, 0.81. And that is under 1 again, 64.99. Of course, the biggest concern we have right now is ASU. Remember, this is just a estimate on cases. It doesn't have anything to do with the severity of the case or deaths or hospitalizations. So this number, if there are people in ASU that do start to test positive, I know that there was one analysis done by an ASU professor this last week that said that the true R naught in at Arizona State right now is about 3. So that's really bad if that's the case, but that will obviously eventually impact the state's numbers. Does it mean that we're going to start seeing a second wave? I don't want to make that determination yet. It's way too early for that, but it can impact the RT number and make it increase at some point.
So Garrett, they would just be considering the population of ASU as a separate state to figure it into that.
When they're figuring that out, they're figuring it based on just ASU's population. And the cases and tests that are being done at ASU.
Yeah, wow, 3 would be just wild. We'll continue to push them for the numbers as they come out. I know some of the schools were updating on a week-by-week basis, but we'll continue to track that and keep reporting that to you. It seems like the numbers are coming out later in the evening, so we're having some of those updates in our 10 o'clock newscasts. Yeah. But yeah, we will definitely keep you updated on that and how these students are being moved around to try to isolate them. So 1.4 million test results in for the state of Arizona so far. I saw we had a number around 5,000 reported today. Does it seem like that's where we're staying now? Because during the height of this, and actually when we were on back order, if you will, for getting results, we were around 15,000 a day. So we have the capacity to turn in a lot more. Do you think 5,000 is kind of where our new number, where we're going to hover, will stay? That cell phone, Garrett. 5,000.
I need to just hold on a second. Oh my gosh, I'm so popular during this show. All right.
That's how it is all the time. That's what I'm like during a newscast. They can see me on TV, but they'll still call my phone.
Let me pull something up really quick to show you what you're talking about. It does appear that we're sort of at a floor level with tests as far as we're sort of ground into one little area. And I'm pulling it up as soon as it just takes a while to render. I do apologize.
That's okay.
And I will share it. Oh, here it comes. I'm going to share with you the epigraph. And this is sort of the true date of the positive, not just sort of that reported date. So That way you can at least get an idea of what things actually look at. So you can see here's our test epi curve, and you absolutely see, even though case numbers have continued to fall, even today, right now, you can see most of the cases that were added today actually came from last week. But you can see these tests. You can see it basically levels out the number of tests. So we're doing on any given day, we're reporting anywhere from 5 to 10,000, and it evens out eventually around. I mean, our average is hovering around 7,500 tests a day at this point.
Okay. So, I mean, we have the capacity for a ton.
Oh, absolutely. We absolutely have the capacity. We have not had a lag in testing. As you can see, the lag right here is 4, which isn't a lag, by the way. So that just means that they're basically turning around tests as fast as they get them at this point.
One of the things that was a concern was this situation with folks having to go into the DMV. And when we were in the height of this concern about the virus, and when we were in the early part of this and not necessarily understanding all of what this virus meant, one of the concerns was our older Arizonans having to go into the DMV in person, which you do every so often, to update your driver's license. So for 6 months, they delayed the driver's license requirements for those who were 65 and older. And now I want you to pay attention if your driver's license is expiring in the next 6 months or so, because now they have delayed your requirement to renew your license for up to a year. So if your driver's license is expiring before December 31 of 2020, you now have an extra year to go get your license renewed. That just came out today as an executive order. If you want to, you can go on the DMV website and order a duplicate if you'd like to have one home, just so that for peace of mind, it says the correct date, this new 2021 date on there. You can order a duplicate, but any of those that have expired now from March 1st to December 31st, you don't have to go in person. You don't have to go renew it. You have a whole nother year based on the date that's on your driver's license right now. So that just came out today. We wanted to update everybody on that. Let's see, we're getting a lot of questions in, and I want to get to some of your comments and questions. I know we had a little bit to get to today, and somebody had just asked a moment ago about one of the counties, whether they'd met the metrics. Okay, Kim was asking, what's Pinal, have they met all 3 benchmarks? So at this point, they're still in the substantial category for Pinal County. How many do they have left to meet? And Kim, we want to let you know, even if they met it today, they would still have to wait until Thursday, because that's when things are sort of recalculated. So you'll want to check in with us on Thursday. How many, though, Garrett, do they have left to meet?
I'm looking to see if there's any issues with Pinal. It appears, based on their numbers, they're considered substantial because on August 2nd, they had a per capita case number of over 100 for that week. It was 101. They barely made moderate. They barely missed moderate status in this last update. As of right now, everything else they have does appear good, at least on that dashboard. So I'm looking to see what the numbers look like now. It does appear that their case numbers have gone down. I'm checking to see that's August 9th. It appears that the next update, the per capita, is going to be around what it was for August 9th, so about 40. So it will make the moderate status, and the percent positives are about the same. So it does appear that right now, on Thursday, Pinal will be recalculated into the moderate category.
Okay. And again, that's on Thursday. So check back with us, Kim, on that date, and we'll get you updated on that. Amber was asking about the prisons. They just tested a bunch of inmates. Do the prisons play into that?
Yes, they do. And I have talked to some epidemiologists on this. I know some people would disagree about testing prisoners and putting them as per capita population numbers, but it is intentional, and there's reasons for that. There is movement in the prisons, prison guards, and people, prison transfers and whatnot. So they are considered part of the per capita numbers, and that was one of the reasons why Pinal County didn't make moderate status on Thursday, was because of an increase in prison testing and cases that did occur last week.
Liz is asking, why is ASU still having classes when their numbers are rising? Liz, that's a question a lot of people are asking. I don't know what the point is, or if they've made that public, where they'll say, okay, we got to go back to our online classes like we did in March and April of last year. I don't know what that number is, but your question is valid. A lot of people are asking that at this point. Not only people who go to ASU, but people who live in the surrounding neighborhoods who are saying, wait a minute, I'm a little worried about this being right here in my neighborhood and these numbers rising so fast. So that is a valid question, Liz. And if we hear any more information on that, we'll definitely be reporting on that. Let's see. Oh, Debbie's saying, or Friday, because the school numbers come out Thursday afternoon. She's referring to the updates. Good call, Debbie. She's referring to the updates that come to us on Thursday. Thursday's a very big day. Remember, in the morning, they're updating the benchmarks. That's just the benchmark sheet. And then for those of you who are watching from Maricopa County, we get detailed information on the zip codes, the school districts, and the cities. So if you want to look at those specifically to your neighborhood, if you're in Maricopa County, we wish we got it for the whole state. We just don't. We usually have that after 5 o'clock or so. Let's see. So many good questions. Thanks to all of you, first of all, for joining us. I saw a lot of new faces. A lot of people were saying they were watching us for the first time yesterday, Garrett. So we just want to note that we appreciate you taking time with us, and we hope that we can help you better find information online. We're staring at these sites all day, especially Garrett. He's staring at them all day and all weekend. And we know that when a website is new, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it and find the info. If we're staring at it all day, we can help find it for you faster. So we take time on here each day to help you find the information so that you can make the best choices for your family and whatever their health requirements might be or their lifestyle might be. All right, let's see. Any other questions that you're seeing come up to answer, Garrett?
I do want to go over some of the questions on deaths. I know that the 6% thing still looms large, and we do have some additional updates from Maricopa County that we covered a couple weeks ago here, and we have some additional and further updates that we just want to go over. So
let's do that. One thing though, Garrett, not everybody was familiar with what this was. A lot of them were off social media on Sunday. What happened was somebody reported a certain number, 6%, and they thought that was the true number of cases of COVID across the U.S. because they were looking at a number on the CDC website.
The CDC they updated the paragraphs following a detailed table of mortality on COVID-19, and when they said that 6% of the death certificates do not have anything but COVID-19 marked on that, and that was extrapolated to mean that COVID-19 was the only cause of death for 6% of all of these deaths, which only essentially people were saying 9,000 people died of COVID-19, and the other whatever number it is died of other things, and it sort of caused a bit of a firestorm, and it is a very inaccurate look at the data. So we just want to go over it again. First of all, this is not something that comes as a surprise. We knew that comorbidities has been an issue with COVID-19 from the very beginning. In fact, Maricopa County actually gives us numbers on comorbidities. But on top of that, further from that, we need to understand that we're looking at a literal death certificate. You're not actually, it actually goes further than comorbidities in this case. What they're actually saying, I'm going to share something really quick that somebody shared with me. And I just thought it was a very interesting way of looking at it. It's actually a death certificate that was filled out by a doctor to sort of explain this. And I'm going to share it really quick.
People aren't familiar with, thankfully, they don't have to see death certificates on a regular basis unless that's their business that they work in. And I think what a lot of people thought was there's one cause of death on a death certificate, and that's not the case. There's several lines.
So I just want to share this really quick. There are several lines, as you said. You can see it's basically, it goes in order of most recent condition, older condition, even older, and then what's the oldest condition or what started it all. And this is what a typical death certificate looks like. This is what the person died of directly. This is what caused this, and then this is what caused this. And this is what most COVID-19 death certificates are going to look like. They're going to have COVID-19 as a part of them, and then they're going to say, well, the person also had a heart attack or they had pneumonia, and that actually, the actual was either respiratory arrest or what in this case. And what the CDC was saying, well, 6% of our sheets of our death certificates that we do surveillance on only have COVID-19 as the contributing cause. Now, that doesn't mean that simply means that there's possibility that those certificates were not filled out properly for the most part. There is a specific and strict set of rules that you can actually mention that you say, if you have influenza and it's the only cause of death, you have to follow these sorts of rules, and that can occur. But we are talking about a very low amount at this point. I mean, we got more information from Maricopa County as well, just to keep going through this, all of these things we're doing with deaths. We had an update with a story that we had done on, when we had first talked to AZDHS, we asked them about the sort of what has become the infamous motorcycle COVID accident. So someone tests positive for COVID, then they get into a motorcycle fatality, they die, are they marked as COVID? AZDHS told us, no, they don't. And then Maricopa County came back to us several weeks later and said, well, yes, they do. They would be counted as COVID. If they took a positive test in 60 days, they would be considered COVID. Well, then we got this from them yesterday. So this is further clarification saying, even though that is true, that this, when you read into this, the COVID motorcycle accident can occur and would be marked as COVID, we would then have epidemiologists reviewing the death certificates to make sure that the person actually had something that was contributable to, was from COVID-19. If it is an injury or poisoning or something like that, as it says right here, and it's clear that it's not primary cause, they will remove it. And in fact, Maricopa County did give us a number. They said that 7 deaths so far for the entire pandemic in Maricopa County were associated in the COVID-19 surveillance captures with either an injury or poisoning. So that's about that's 0.02% of all of the death certificates that they have been these quote unquote, and this is just a loose term, but the COVID motorcycle accident deaths.
So Garrett, this is exactly what we've said from the beginning, because even if it's counted this way, this number is so tiny. When we're talking about a car crash that kills somebody, so you're already talking about somebody that has COVID, somebody that's likely quarantining at home, somebody that would also have to get in a car crash, and then somebody that would have to die in that car crash. And now to put an exact number to it, to learn that that's 7 of more than 5,000 deaths reported.
Yeah, I mean, what they do, and what they do is they do this death certificate surveillance, and they cast a really wide net because they don't want to miss anybody. They'd rather overcount and go back and dedupe than miss somebody. So they cast a very wide net. They pull in a lot of deaths, and we see that. We see it all the time where we get a bunch of deaths. Sometimes we've had triple digits over the last couple of weeks, and then we have a pullback of 20 to 30 deaths, and that's because they've cast a wide net. They look through the death certificates and they say, okay, these 20 or so, whatever the number is, this is clearly either a duplicate of what we already have or was not a COVID-19 death. So then they withdraw the death certificate from the COVID line, the epi curve. But it's become a common practice, and this is the way that I think they're using to make sure that they get the most accurate count, is because if they don't want to undercount, they would rather overcount and then use the manpower to go through them one by one and remove them.
Yeah. So just to clear up Teresa's question there. So if someone tests positive at the time of death, including accidents, they are or are not being documented as a COVID death.
They are initially, but then once they go through the death certificates, they do an investigation of the death certificate. And if it is clear that that person did not die of something related to COVID-19, they would pull the death certificate from the COVID-19 curve.
Yeah. And then we still have this number of a huge number of deaths that are unaccounted for at this point that are higher over year to year, which also points to something concerning happening here.
Yeah, and right now we do not know what those deaths are. We have about 840 or so, I believe it was, from July that are not currently on the COVID-19 curve as confirmed deaths. We don't know what those are yet. We don't know if it's an undercount. We don't know if it was something else, some other reasonings. I know some people want to presume that those are quote unquote lockdown deaths. I'm not going to discount what those people are suggesting, but we just simply don't know yet. These are things that once the actual statistics are finalized and we have a better idea of what the true causes of death are, then we're going to be able to determine, what this was. If it was just an undercount of COVID-19 deaths or if it was something else, the presumed sort of lockdown death numbers that some people want to argue occur.
So Kimberly's writing, basically, they audit them all. Exactly. That's
Yes.
exactly it in one sentence.
Yes.
If it's got COVID on there, it's lumped into the pile saying, we're going to check back on this. And that's what you see as those probable deaths. So
Yes.
it's really great that they're even being transparent to show us that breakout numbers so we can see how many are under review, if you will, at this time, until they can say, yep, that was truly in the COVID column, or that needs to go in the other column. They just happen to have it. Nicole, thank you. Nicole writes that I just lost her comment here. Scrolling back for you, Nicole. Let's see, so many comments coming in. Nicole writes, thank you so much for going over this. I am a doctor and have gotten so many questions about this in the last couple of days. Nicole, I feel for you, because as a reporter, we're getting this a million times over the last couple of days. I was messaged about this so much on Sunday, and so many people were asking about this. So thank you, Garrett, for helping us to understand it. Geez, one more question that just came in. Boy, lots of comments. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for joining us on here. I want to get to all of them. Oh, Teresa's also asking who's the auditor. So the medical examiner's office is looking over this information.
Yes, yeah. The auditor is epidemiologists that work at the Secretary of State. Sorry, the Department of Health, medical examiners at all of the county health departments, and then of course there's further auditing done by the office. Not in all cases, but it can go as high as the CDC and the Office of Inspector General. And this is what we were talking about with the COVID upcoding. If they start to think that there's questionable death certificates in which someone is trying to upcode COVID-19 for someone who didn't receive treatment, that may at some point end up at the Office of Inspector General.
Okay, so we have just time for just one more. And I also want to mention those people that are reviewing this are highly degreed, highly educated people who are helping to sort this out. This isn't just like somebody going in and typing, oh, yep, you are, yep, you're not. That's not what's going on here. Let's see. We only have a few more minutes left, and somebody was asking about fall predictions. Can we show sort of quick snapshot ahead in just these last few minutes of how things look? Couple different sites, or one of the best sites right now. Brent writes, "Thank you, ABC 15. Awesome job." Oh, there's Karen's comment about fall predictions. Karen, thanks for staying with us. We'll get to you on that.
I'll use the one I like that I use on this, the COVID-19projections.com, which is the machine learning model. And that's why I like it, is because it is a machine learning model. You can't fudge it as much as you can with some of these other models. So let's see, what do we look like? We can go as far as October 31st right now. I've got it shared. And it looks like right now the R0 number, they are sort of presuming it's going to go up by a tiny bit. And then you can see the total deaths right now are projected to be 6733, or I'll start from the low range, 5416 to 6733 with a median of 5946. And then when we look at the newly infected, this is why it thinks R0 is going down. It thinks that this curve is going to continue to go down. About 4,700 or so newly infected during this time, with a total infection walking around Arizona of about anywhere from 37,000 to 160,000, with a median of 90,000. So, I mean, what this is basically saying is there are 90,000 active infections in the state right now. That's what this, in 7 million people, it thinks that 90,000 are active infections.
And which site is this, Garrett?
This is COVID-19projections.com.
Okay.
I will put it up just in case. Here you go. This is the model that I like to use. It doesn't change as much. I know it's some people want to see these things sort of fluctuate wildly. I sort of like it when a model doesn't fluctuate wildly. That's the whole point. So I do like this one. And it says so far about 23% of Arizona, 1.6 million, have probably had the virus.
Okay, how far out does this go? We're running out of time, but I want to let folks know.
It goes up to November 1st.
Okay.
And it says, let's see, the pertinent numbers to know about is obviously the death number, and that is, like I said, 54 to 67.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We're running out of time today. We'll have even more for you tomorrow when we meet up, same time, same place. Remember, all our evening newscasts are coming up at 4, 5, 6, and 10 p.m. You can also watch us now on CW 61 coming up at 9 p.m. as well. So a lot of places to catch your newscast now and your updated coronavirus information. You can also go to abc15.com/coronavirus. You'll find our very latest reporting right there. Find Garrett on Twitter at Garrett_Archer. I'm on Twitter as well at Katie Raml. You can also catch up with me on Facebook if that's your preferred method, which is facebook.com/news from Katie. We're going to have a lot more to get to tomorrow. Keep your questions coming. We'll see you back here, same time, same place. Be safe.